without further ado, enjoy these episodes.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, episode 300. Gary, did you know that?
Oh, hey. I don't think I did.
It's a big round number. I only knew it because past Jeremy put it in the notes file. So, because we never talk about episode numbers on this, and we don't pay attention to them. So, big round number, episode 300. Yeah, we're gonna So, listeners who've been keeping up with us, we have been doing Avengers vs. X-Men. We're going to take a 4-episode break to catch up on some MCU. If you're listening to this on the Patreon, we're going to go through Shang-Chi, Eternals, Hawkeye, and Spider-Man. I'm going to put chapter markers in this. And if you check the notes file, I'll also put time codes for that stuff in the notes file so that you can have it. If you want to skip something that you maybe haven't seen yet, because we're going to talk about Spider-Man, and it's only in theaters, which are full of code.
Or in a cam video that my friend Derek hooked me up with that was a pretty compromised experience, which I'll talk about. But I was like, I don't care. I'm just going to watch it. So there's not a good rip of it or anything like that, but I don't care. You have my permission to steal from Disney.
Yes, 100%.
Especially for safety.
Yeah, so. Especially. I mean, like they put Black Widow, and
yeah,
I paid $30 for that.
Sued the shit out of them as soon as that happened.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but
so they didn't want Tom Holland's really fucking litigious. He's gonna get him.
Dude, I bet Tom Holland, who seems to be in a relationship with Zendaya, would probably just not sue anybody at all. Just like, my life is perfect.
Like a very nice guy.
I don't want to do anything to mess this up. I don't want any negative energy coming my way.
My life is perfect. Zendaya is Michi. Everything is good.
Everything is good. She's my GF, and she's amazing.
Yeah. I'm a short king, and this is my average-heighted queen. He would not. He would not do that. But regardless of which, it is maybe, soon Spider-Man will be available for people.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that one last there. But a lot of people, some of this stuff is old news. And on the network, this is, the place where MCU stuff just kind of lives by default as well. Like, Cole's not that into it, even though we are also going to talk about the Moon Knight trailer made by Benson and Moorhead. And that might be the bridge in which I get Cole into MCU shit.
He was tweeting about those guys today, or maybe yesterday. I'm kind of far behind on Twitter. They have a new movie coming out, so I bet he'll look at this Moon Knight stuff and go like, I've got a movie. Like, I don't need this Moon Knight bullshit. Although, Moon Knight does beat up a werewolf, so that is very exciting.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's gonna be very MCU-y, which is cool. It looks like very Memento-y and trippy. Let's talk about Shang-Chi. The first of these to come to home platforms at the very least, and the first one both of us watched.
Yes. Did you go in have any experience with the character, read comics, knew who he was, had any kind of like relationship with them at all before you watched the movie?
Just a little bit. Okay. I'd read a couple of comics with him. The comics in which I read with him, he was not fun.
Mm-hmm.
In the comics, I think that's kind of what they turned him into. But I'd seen him when he was just kind of like a Bruce Lee dude in the 70s, and then some early attempts to bring him back.
Okay.
And in a general sense, I'm not real big into Kung Fu in Marvel. as a thing.
I'm
I don't think it's
shocked.
that interesting.
Shocked and appalled. I cannot believe you would say this on this podcast of all podcasts.
Not only has that been a theme consistently through AVX, but also like I just get kind of bored about martial arts. I don't think martial arts is that cool. So I had no real positive associations. My fear was it was going to be just like a martial arts movie, with nothing else. But I had nothing real to base it on. Just my own little biases. How about you? Were you a Shang-Chi maniac?
Even less experience than you had. So I'd never seen him pop up in comics that I can remember, right? Like maybe when I was a kid he popped up somewhere, but like no recent experience. So when they started like making these announcements, the only connection I had to it was like the Ten Rings stuff, when they were talking about like, oh, we're going to go back and fix the Mandarin. And I was like, well, I kind of liked what y'all did with the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, even though it was maybe a little disrespectful in some ways, but like I love that twist a whole lot, and Ben Kingsley really pulls it off. But they really made me like enjoy this character to the point that as we'll talk about later with them maybe bringing in Netflix Marvel stuff, I just don't need the Iron Fist anywhere near that. Like this guy seems to like fill the kung fu hole in an Avengers team like perfectly. Like we don't need any more glowy fists. So
I certainly don't need Iron Fist by any means. I think that this Shang-Chi as a movie, which is like an enjoyable movie, right? Like I had fun watching it. I don't think that there is a Marvel project that gets by on the charm of the actors more than this.
Mm-hmm.
Like the actual plotting and things that happened in the movie were not, that groundbreaking or cool, but everybody's real fun and having a good time and they all like each other.
I don't know, man. The Mandarin,
the villain's real good and menacing.
The Mandarin had sex so good that he gave up immortality. That's pretty fucking good sex. Like that's a pretty cool plot point. Like I don't know what she was doing, but I mean,
mystical land pussy. That's why they keep going to Kunlun. And,
just looking for the mystical pussy.
Jesus Christ. The Goemon and the
is that what MP has stood for this entire time? Have I been lied to my entire video game experience?
It just like it's all performances. Like the Mandarin, that actor is great.
Mm-hmm.
Cool and menacing and means well, which all the best villains mean well, right? Kinda, right? He's a tyrant, but he means well in the end. He's just tricked. And then Shang-Chi and Awkwafina, just like really incredible chemistry, like real fun to watch them goof around.
Yeah.
And that carried the movie for me. Like it was just, that made it fun to me.
I think everybody that was there was having a great time. And that really showed through in all of the performances. The chemistry between Awkwafina and Simu Liu, I think, is really, really strong. And they also didn't lean it, like they didn't do any relationship stuff. Like they seemed to like keep it kind of like a brother sister relationship almost, where they were just like, she was obviously pulled along in his wake with this. Like she's the straight guy and all of it, the straight man in this arrangement. But she's still really, really funny and like had a lot of good jokes. And I don't know, like it was just a really solid pairing. And then, like you said, the villain was good. His mom was great. Michelle Yeoh's great. And then they brought in Ben Kingsley kind of midway through, and he was just an absolute delight. Like he just kills this role and looks like he's having, like he does not give any fucks. He's just like, okay, I'll talk to the weird mystical creature, that CGI creature, and I don't have a problem with this.
The Star Wars, I'm known from the Star Wars collection. Like them folding it into Iron Man 3 stuff was really good.
Yeah.
To me, like them not just obviating that stuff at all. He's a very fun, just comic relief character. And it being very like almost like just normal buddy comedy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like having, our protagonist, his sister who is like dark and brooding, Awkwafina who is kind of the everyman, and then the comic relief character, and then like an animal sidekick.
Yeah.
It's this weird like Scooby-Doo gang it turned into at some point. It was very, very surprising. I'm not real into Zhu Ziling, who is, the sister character. I didn't think that character was very fun or given enough to do in the movie. And that like it's not a deep movie, right? Like there was the good father stuff, the good daddy issue shit, and then the sister and brothers plot in this fell real flat for me. You abandoned me, like all that stuff felt real weird.
Yeah.
And clanged with the we're super fun valets of Aquafina.
I think that might be.
And
I don't think anybody has confirmed anything like any kind of sequels or spinoffs to this, but obviously, like he's going to be the guy going forward, and I'm sure that this surrounding cast is going to be pulled forward into other MCU stuff. But that to me read like somebody was maybe trying to write in like, oh, here's a spinoff series just for this chick. Just because I kind of agree with you, like a lot of it didn't make sense, didn't gel with the tone of the movie, and then like, oh, she waited like 13 years for him to come back. And I'm like, girl, like, what are you doing? Like, that's a long time. A lot of the like actual plot stuff to me doesn't make a ton of sense. It was just kind of like cheesy in a little bit. Like when, when Shang-Chi is a child and his dad goes out for cigarettes and then comes back and they're just killing his mother in front of everybody. Like it was just some weird, like you said, dark points in an otherwise like 80s buddy cop movie. And you've got to like have the origin story, but like, I feel like it's important to have that tone kind of match at the same time. So
you do got to pick a lane. It's the plot. There's the Clang stuff, and then there's also just and this ends up being a real a contrast with Spider-Man, which we'll talk about later. And I wish I had a better word for what I'm going to say. The plot just wasn't that interesting to me.
Okay,
like it wasn't like there were cool ideas being played with in it.
Yeah.
It felt very stock, and that's the worst that happens to a lot of first Marvel movies, right? But the idea, like, oh, there's these, some kind of ancient evil, and it's a deal with the devil, and here it pops out. All that stuff felt very, like rote. It reminded me of, and this isn't a popular opinion, but like I like Black Panther, and the reason why I like Black Panther is for the performances and stuff too, because the plot felt really predictable as it was going. Like it just felt like everything was doing exactly what it needed to do, step after step. This felt like that as well.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
It does, absolutely. And I think that's to its detriment to a degree. And I don't like have any kind of care for hidden mystical cities that have weird Star Wars creatures. Like none of that stuff worked for me at all. Like by the time we get to the actual mystical land of not Kunlun, I was like, okay, like you have to drive through a moving forest or whatever. Like I just don't care about this stuff at all. Like it doesn't have a big effect on me. I found it really weird when like they spend a lot, like there's like a Lord of the Rings battle in this mystical land for a while.
The end battle is one of my least favorite that's been in the MCU. Like when people complain about the MCU, they complain about the final battles a lot. And a lot of times they're right. Like I get really exhausted with MCU complaining, but like the final battles in these movies a lot of times leave a lot to be desired. And this one was real big for that to me.
Yeah.
I just thought this was, I like the big lion things a lot. Those things are cute and I want to like pet one and ride one. But other than that, I was real bored by the big Lord of the Rings battle. I'm kind
of here for the dragons. Like dragon fighting is always pretty cool. And by the time we got to the dragon fighting, I was like well CGI'd out. Like I was like all of the Lord of the Rings battle took place before that, and then everybody kind of like stops, and then the battle doesn't matter. And I think that's one of the worst things that these movies do sometimes, which is show you a big battle. The Eternals is very guilty of this, and then immediately after showing you like this fight scene, just completely removing all of the stakes and relevancy for the fight, basically. And then that's when you start realizing like, oh, I just watched a bunch of like CGI people flex. Like I just watched a bunch of computer programmers flex on me, and sometimes that's cool and that's all you need. But like in a movie like this, I kind of wanted something a little bit more. That said, the fight sequences that are a lot smaller scale.
The actual kung fu fights are way better than I thought they would be.
So fucking cool. The bus thing, I think that has probably been endlessly talked about, but the fight outside of the fight club on the scaffolding is so fucking cool. Like it's super fun. Just lots of real dynamic, just lots of people performing their ass off. Like just really, really fun.
Yeah. It's weird how, and this ends up being a general MCU thing, right? Is that like, it's the contrast between Winter Soldier You know, the reason why that was so refreshing when it came out, because the action scenes were person to person and kind of looked like Bourne, action scenes almost. And then when it ends up being a big CGI hole in the sky, then it ends up getting boring as hell.
Exactly. Yeah.
And this movie has both. The bus scene, which is how they the director pitched the movie, basically, like, to them with this idea of this bus fight, is unbelievably fun. Yeah. It reminded me, it was a good year for bus fights. Like, there's a really good bus fight in Nobody. Did you see Nobody?
I need to watch Nobody. I have it downloaded and just ready to go, and I keep forgetting about it.
It's pretty good. It's fun. It's not great or anything, and the messaging is really confusing, but it's very fun. There's a good bus fight in that as well. All that stuff I thought was very good. Mm-hmm. I am 100% with you. The idea, that was the coolest part of it in detail to me as well, was when they were there at that weird fight club, and there were all these, like, this monster fight club.
Yeah, absolutely.
That they had.
Super cool idea.
Way into that.
Yeah.
Cool Easter eggs. That is the kind of weird hidden shit in the universe that I like.
Mm-hmm.
That was a real highlight for me as well.
The early on, when you see Shang-Chi's dad and mom meeting for the first time in, like, the mystical city, huge, like, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon vibes with that whole fight scene. And it was like, it was a weird like fight cute instead of a meat cute, like a meat fight, I guess. I don't know what you call it. But I just, like, they had really good chemistry together, and I knew he was, like, the bad guy. Like, they had kind of told me all about all of his crimes, and then they showed me this really charming dude, like, with this really beautiful woman having, like, very cool martial art fights, and I'm like, well, this guy doesn't seem all bad. Like, I know he's 1,000 years old and has taken over countries he probably shouldn't have done, but, like, he seems kind of nice. He seems fine. I like that stuff a whole lot. I don't think we could talk about the Fight Club thing without talking about Wong and Abomination being there. Weird to see Abomination pop up after all of this time.
They're bringing him back.
Yeah, like
he's back, baby.
Just and it's the Hulk. That original Hulk movie is a weird one because it's part of the MCU. Like, we have the General and all that stuff. We just haven't. We just don't see Edward Norton at all because he got recast. But
we haven't seen that whole crew for a long time. Like, it's almost like for a franchise or a concern that doesn't let things rest, it's almost like it realized, like, we had to let the Hulk just be in cameos for a while, because arguably our worst movie is our Hulk highlight movie.
Well, I think there's actually some rights issues. Like, I think Universal still holds, like, the issue. You can't make a Hulk movie without paying Universal a bunch of money, or whomever owns it, because there's some weird. So that's why we keep getting, like, Thor 3, which is a huge Hulk movie,
kind of a Hulk movie.
Yeah, but doesn't have Hulk in the title anywhere, right? So you don't have to pay a bunch of money for it. But yeah, like, it was just they showed this in the trailer too, in one of the later trailers, so you could see this happening, and people were like, "Oh my god, this is going to mean blah 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 blah." And I'm like, I don't know why the Abomination and Wong are hanging out at all. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But the fight was super cool. Like, I liked him opening up the portal so that the Abomination hit himself. Like, that's super cool.
Sure. Always down for something hitting itself.
100% down. Absolutely.
Them bringing it back, I mean, the internet was all over this, and I guess hi, I'm internet, because them bringing back Abomination, I think it's interesting how they have been kind of keeping their hands open to seed Thunderbolts or Dark Avengers. They keep doing things for that, and Abomination would make a good part of that team.
Yeah,
I can see them being like, we're going to try to do that in 2024. And we have to make him start showing up.
Yeah, we want people to know that he exists at some point. Like, we have to remind people of this stuff. The other really great thing I thought that they did was just really clearly differentiate and animate the ring power so very well between the way that his dad uses it and the way that he uses it, and kind of bringing in, like, the balance and stuff like his mom was talking about. And normally I wouldn't, like, super care about that stuff, but it was, like, significantly different, like, the way that they use the rings, and I just thought that was a really cool, like, I guess, idea and the execution that they had, because the rings are, like, really fucking cool to watch in action. Like, once he gets them, you're like, fuck, where has this been the whole movie? This is what I want.
Yeah. It doesn't look like one of their stock effects.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So much, like, I'm getting a little over the Doctor Strange rings. His little sparklers that he does. Like, I understand everything's just got an energy signature in this, so you can recognize it, but this looks cooler than that to me.
Yeah. Yeah. I almost wish, and we'll talk about this later when we speculate about like Doctor Strange 2, but like I hope that stuff changes after Spider-Man. I'm a Doctor Strange portaled out a little bit. So
yeah, well, it'll be fun to talk about. That's also the most recent one of these I've watched. So
yeah.
Shang-Chi is the one that is least in my memory.
Mm-hmm.
They again kind of tying into some criticisms around these movies and stuff. This hasn't stuck with me real hard or anything. You know, it's not like a lot of people were like, oh, this is the one. And I think that for me and MCU stuff, I'm no longer looking for the one in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not looking for that Winter Soldier experience. I'm looking for like a B movie that transports me in time 2.5 hours.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and then afterwards I don't really have to think about that much. You know, there's more to chew on in Spider-Man, I felt like, and Eternals was messier than this. So there's more to chew on kind of in a negative way. But it just kind of, it was very slight. Like this, like I put this in the like Ant-Man pile of kind of a trifle.
Okay.
You know, like it's a snack. It's not something that is going to stick with me or influence me. When Shang-Chi shows up in Avengers 4 trailer, you know, or whatever, I'm not going to fist pump about it.
Yeah.
Like my positive memories of this movie, I don't need to see this again. Like I'd be fine watching it if it was on, but I just kind of like, I was like, oh, that was pretty good.
I feel like,
and then just I'd go about my day.
I feel like some of this Marvel stuff maybe fulfills the same role that like teenage comedy movies or rom-coms or like every Seth Rogen joint. Maybe that's unfair because Seth Rogen has been making like okay stuff, but like when I think about like something like this, I think about like a movie like This Is 30, or where, you know, arguably This is 40 or whatever. I don't even remember the name of it, but like arguably good actors saying funny things in front of the camera and having a good time. But like, it's just stuff that I've probably seen that movie. I may have seen it twice and I don't remember any of it. Right. Like,
yeah. Yep.
And it with Marvel stuff, like I have a little bit more of a connection to it, obviously, because I grew up reading Marvel. Like if they made a rom-com connected universe, like maybe I would be more into this, like if there was a, This is 30, This is 40, This is 32.6, like, and I had to get, you know what I'm saying? Like if this was a whole series of things and they all interconnected.
When Harry met Sally met the 40-year-old virgin.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Ant-Man is there because Paul Rudd is in like every one of those movies, so that works. But yeah, it feels very much like that, where a trifle is a good word for it, where you enjoy it. It goes down pretty easy. It's pretty smooth. You don't really care about any of the harsh edges to it because you're not gonna like sit there and watch it, or it's not worth talking about for like 3 hours or whatever. In terms of representation, I think it's a huge win for Marvel to start actually hiring, you know, people of color and the Asian Americans to do their movies, and we've seen that like with this and the Eternals. Like that's fucking crazy.
It's super good, and they also did an awesome fucking job.
Yeah,
they did a better job than if they had like whitewashed this or done, you know,
100%.
Simu and Aquafina do incredible work in this. And you know, this isn't me trying to do white podcaster guy discover something the entire world knows, you know, for the first time. But it is a thing where there's an entire world of actors out there who are incredible, who we just don't get to see.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and that is a bummer. Like I didn't want to same thing with Black Panther. I don't want to underplay the representation shit in that movie. Right. Like I think it is good to be able to look at that as a movie and as a representation win, you know, and not have them necessarily rub off on each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like as a plot, I thought that was really kind of pedestrian, but it's still great performances and dealing with super cool themes. And it's, you know, I think that you and I talked about this when the trailer for Black Panther first started coming out. It was just cool to see that aesthetic applied to a futuristic sci-fi city, which is just something I'd never seen before.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a newness to it that's really cool. And I think that one of the reasons why Shang-Chi, even though the actor representation engaged in that, but the city kind of fell flat, is because that is something that we've seen a lot.
Yeah.
It is kind of a cliche, that mystical village kind of thing.
And I just was not interested in it. But the actual, and like the thing that I think about it when you and I sit here and talk about this stuff as, you know, two older white guys, are like every tiny Asian child in the world who's like, oh, I have a superhero. Like there's my Superman. Like that, you know, and being able to grow up with that. Same thing with Black Panther. Like you saw a bunch of kids having the same reaction. Like that's just so wonderful and
Black
great.
Captain America, dude.
But there's a
Like,
Black Captain
you know,
America. Like who fucking knows, man? Like it's crazy out there
That's
right
awesome.
now. I love it.
Yeah. Like that shit's super, super cool. Like I will get warm fuzzies thinking about that. In a general sense.
That's pretty much all I got on Shang-Chi. I'm trying to remember the post-credit sequence. I know Hulk and Captain Marvel were there. Wong come get Shang-Chi and Aquafina from the, or Katie, I guess we should use her character name, from the bar. But I don't remember, what are they looking at? Like they're looking at something, right?
They're looking at the rings. Like the idea is that like the rings are so powerful and ancient that the crew of assembled like scientists and mystics don't, they're like, oh, these predate the Infinity Stones.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So or something like that. And then they do karaoke. And then that's the post credits.
Okay.
So it's not a very momentous post credits.
That's fine. I'm okay with that.
The rings are important.
Yeah.
The idea of taking the rings and making them this as opposed to what they're in the comic, which is 10 Captain Planet rings, basically.
Mm-hmm. Super clever.
That the Mandarin uses. Like this is better, but also I kind of like, part of me was like, it'd be so stupid if the rings were just like, this is my ring of earth control. This is my mind control ring.
Yeah.
I would have laughed real hard if that's what they did instead of just having them do beams.
It would have been incredibly cheesy and also like fun at the same time. But I really I came out of this going like, oh, the rings are so fucking cool, and they look so totally different than anything else that the Avengers have right now, like across that whole spectrum. Like it just looks so different that I don't know, you get excited for like a big battle and having these things just running around crazy, like with fucking Wanda in the background or some shit. Who knows? So
it fulfills like a hole in the Avengers lineup of the person who shoots beams and projectiles.
Exactly. Yeah.
As they slowly put together their new their Avengers now that the old Avengers are retiring or whatever. Or that's what it seems like is happening.
Yeah.
But basically Shang-Chi, like pretty good. I had no expectations, and that's probably why I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I think that was me too. I was excited to see it because it was new stuff, Marvel stuff that I had no connection to, and had a good time watching it one afternoon with Autumn. So
I liked it a lot more than I liked Black Widow. Like Black Widow was the first thing I came back, first phase 4 thing I saw that was a movie, and it was like real kind of fun to be like, oh cool, I'm going to see like a big Marvel movie. And I like Black Widow okay, but out of the new crop, it's probably my least favorite.
Yeah. It's also, I think we talked about this when we talked about it for the podcast, but like it also feels dated even by MCU standards. Like it feels very much like oh, let's make a let's make a Winter Soldier again, but without any of that cool stuff that the Winter Soldier did. And also just like the Marvel has grown so much significantly in Phase 4, just in terms of how they're making movies and stuff. Like it just felt older. So I think I'm with you. I think I like this more than I like. The only thing that Black Widow has is Yelena, and I think you could put Yelena in literally anything, and she would make that thing better. As we'll talk about here,
Hawkeye.
Just a bit. So
yeah, like she's great. Like that was the highlight of that movie. I liked Red Guardian a lot in that movie as well.
Yeah,
I thought he was fun. But the we don't need Scarlett Johansson.
Not at all. Not at all.
Speaking of whitewashing, like Scarlett Johansson being out of the MCU now. Okay with me.
Mm-hmm.
She shills weird fake pizza rolls on Facebook.
Does she really? What is fake?
Yeah.
Wait. What fake pizza rolls? What makes them fake?
Yeah.
Are they like?
they're not. They're all made of like, I think they're all plant based.
Oh, okay.
Pizza
I got
rolls?
you. Yeah.
The idea is just like, you remember pizza rolls from when you were a kid, and when it popped up, I was like, is that Scarlett fucking Johansson?
Dude,
and I'm pretty sure that's her.
I guess once that,
let me make sure.
I guess that once that Marvel money starts running out, and your husband does SNL weekend update segments, like you're like, well, fuck, I need a new Porsche. give me that vegan pizza roll money.
She just sued Disney for like so much money, and now she's joined Snow Days Organic Pizza Bites.
Fuck, dude,
ScarJo, what are you doing?
Who knows, man? The thing that I think about nowadays on that kind of stuff is like in the best case scenario, it's a money grab, and I'm like, dude, if I was at that level, I'd be money grabbing all over the place. Like I got bills to pay, I want my family to be safe, all that stuff. But
sure.
the worst thing you can think about it is that it's an actual like cause that she's passionate about. I'm like, oh no, we're gonna bring healthy pizza rolls to the masses, says ScarJo in a boardroom somewhere.
I think about it a lot where I think that money should be, you should have enough money. at some point.
Yeah, at some
like
point
you want your family to be safe and stuff, but does Scarlett Johansson really not have enough money?
There's a level cap in Final Fantasy VII, and I feel like capitalism should be the same way. You should be able to get to level 99, and then your materia stops, and you can't do anything else.
Yeah. Once you've sued Disney, you're kind of done. You did your thing.
If you want to sue Disney, go to Patreon. Or if you want to help us sue Disney, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Sign up for one of the mini tiers, so you can get your mini rewards. You can join the Slack channel. You get episodes of this podcast early. You get all kinds of exclusive content from Gary and Cole. Just a bunch of neat stuff, and it goes a long way to supporting us directly and the network as a whole. And if you can't do that, ratings and reviews always helpful. Telling your friends about the podcast, pass this on. This is a good jumping on point because we're just chatting MCU stuff. So if you got friends that are kind of into comic books, but you don't want to dump them in the middle of a AVX crossover event, just show them this podcast.
Yeah, you don't want to explain who Hope is.
I don't want to, and I've had to do it for like fucking 6 months.
You get kicked out of a party for that kind of shit. Pull out the acoustic guitar and play a little song about hope.
Oh God. Anyway, here's Wonderwall. It's all about hope.
Anyway, here's Wonder Man.
Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll be back with The Eternals next.